Breaking news. Dana White partners with Turkey Al-Sheikh to form a new boxing promotion, right? A league, if you will. Now, I've been kind of reading up on this because it's interesting that Dana White, of all people, would jump into the boxing game like this because, again, he'd been talking down on how boxing, well, just boxing in general for quite some time now. I'm not sure, he boxed a little bit himself. I'm sure he respects the science of it, but as far as the business, he just was never a fan of the fighters having so much freedom and the fighters really picking and choosing who they want to fight. The way that fights have been made, the amount of politics that exist, I'm sure, we all kind of get annoyed with sanctioning body politics, fighter politics, and all that type of stuff. It gets annoying. It does, right? Now, TKO Group, this is the company that owns both the WWE and the UFC, right? They're working with Ring Magazine, which is basically Turkey Al-Sheikh now. So Turkey Al-Sheikh and TKO, they form a partnership together to add some infrastructure to the sport of boxing. Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing about that, right? Boxing, it does need infrastructure. It does. But what I will say is when it comes to things like, because boxing and the WWE are not the same, right? I look at boxing more akin to, like, if he were to run this boxing promotion, I would look at it more akin to how the UFC is ran, where the pay is centralized, the fights, the rankings are centralized per weight class, and there's only one belt per weight class, right? People, they fuck with that. I can get down with that. But I think the hard part is going to convince fighters, right, to give fighters or to have an incentive for fighters to come and join a league, considering the UFC has become so standardized and centralized that, fighters, they don't get paid what they're worth anymore. They're making $10,000 a fight, $20,000 if you win, and then you get a fight bonus. And then if you're a pay-per-view star, you make good money. But those come far few and in between. Most fighters come through, they start fighting, and they need a part-time job still. You know what I mean? And now in boxing, when you first turn pro, it is like that. You're probably making 10 to 15K a fight when you're younger, when you're just getting started, but it doesn't stay that way for long, especially if you're really good. You know what I mean? You start making tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars on some of these fight cards, especially if you reach the main card or if you're a co-main event like some of these up and comers are, right? You start making big money. Shakur, he just made $2 million in his last fight working with Turkey. And some of these dudes are making 30 million, 10 million, 15, big money with Turkey Al-Sheikh. Jared Anderson, who was a prospect, made like 700K or 70K, something like that, right? He made big money compared to his days at Top Rank. But if you centralize the pay, if you remove their ability to receive sponsors, right? Because MMA, a lot of that money was coming from sponsorships on their trunks, right? A lot of dudes were getting sponsorships, and they were able to make ends meet with those sponsorships. Then the UFC does a deal with Reebok, takes that ability away, and then the UFC fighters are hungry now. They're starving, and Dana White does not care because nothing is bigger than the league, than the UFC. If you go about doing it that way for boxing, I think it's gonna be hard for a lot of boxers to buy into the league because I'm wondering, if you're signed with Turkey Al-Sheikh, does that mean that you're automatically a part of this league, or how does that work? Because most times fighters, they'll sign a 2 or 3 fight deal with a network, and they'll get a lot of money up front, or they'll be guaranteed a certain amount of money per fight. And then if they do a pay-per-view fight, then they do their splits that way. You know what I mean? The business is hashed out that way. But for the most part, they have an idea of who they're going to fight, and those deals are ironed out, and people get big money, right? Like allegedly, Tank Davis made 200 million in his Amazon deal or whatever. That's what they're saying. I don't know if it's true, but Devin Haney, he signed a few 2 or 3 fight deals with a few different networks, made big money. You know what I mean? So if you have a league now where you're paid per fight and the pay-per-view splits are more standardized and regulated, yes, it's good for business, but for the fighters who are putting everything on the line, right? how are you going to incentivize them to join this completely structured out, ironed out league that Dana White is running, and also have their faith in him to where they know, hey, I'll be secure, I'll be able to fight full time and not have to worry about making, getting basically working a full-time job until I'm a headliner on pay-per-view or working you know what I'm saying? Because if you fight 2-3 times a year making 10 to 20,000, you only making 30 to 60,000 a year, bro. That's not a livable wage in the United States in most places, especially in this economy. So I'm just curious as to how the fighters are going to go about hopping into this. If they'll be incentivized to join this, and how Dana White will be able to make it all shake. Now, if the pay and negotiations work the same, but he's in the business of hosting, using his promotion for like tournaments, championship fights. He has, there's one belt. Like if you're a TKO or a Ring Magazine, like they're partnered with Wing. So if you're a Ring Magazine champion, right? And that's it. You're just you're the champion at your weight class, and that's it. And then they basically start to phase the sanctioning bodies out, but they leave the rest of the sport the same, right? The level of expression the same, the ability to get sponsorships the same. Then I think that this will be fine. I think that it'll work good, because then you can start stripping people of the belt, and you can start making people fight each other to keep their belt. And you can say, if you say like, oh, you can't get any of these big paydays unless you're fighting for belts, fighting for titles or a title or whatever, then okay, you know what I mean? Fair enough. But my thing is just when it comes to the standardized nature of business with Dana White, what are some of those, what is some of that base pay going to look like? And I think that's kind of what most fighters are wondering when they hear Dana White's name, because the first thing you think of is fighter pay. It has to be. Jake Paul's been hitting the nail on the head about it. Fighters have come out about it, done YouTube videos about it. Fighter pay, fighter pay, fighter pay. When it comes to working with Dana White, Dana is a great guy. You know what I mean? He makes sure, like, it literally is like working at a restaurant or something when you're fighting in the UFC, except you're actually risking your life. You dig what I'm saying? So that UFC fighters used to leave. They were leaving UFC to go fight Jake Paul or on Jake Paul's card, or just go box each other and make big money, right? That's what UFC fighters were doing. Now, imagine if, and this is the last thing I'm going to say, imagine if Dana White, he has this league and he's like, look, if you're a UFC fighter and you want to go box, you can go box, but you're still making that 10,000. You know what I mean? You're not just going to box and then go steal a 30 million from me, or 30 million without me getting a piece. You still gonna get that 10,000. You can go box each other. You can go box however you want to do it. You know what I'm saying? But you're not gonna get no 10 million, 5 million, 15, 30 million without me. It's just not gonna happen. So we'll see how, if that's the case, if he does the UFC niggas like that, I'll be like, damn, there's no escape for y'all until y'all finish y'all contract and don't re-up. And then you got to start trying to box afterwards. But Dana White gonna get his money. That's one thing that Dana White is going to do. So we'll see how it goes. Hopefully Turkey and Ring Magazine can maintain the integrity of the sport that does exist, right? There are integral parts, but there are unintegral parts. But if they can maintain the integrity of the sport and, make sure that fighters are still able to get that money, still able to do their business, except now they have to incentivize them, right? And I'm assuming that the turkey bag being attached to this belt is going to be the incentive for them to have some of these big fights for this belt. And they're going to say, look, you're not paying a bunch of sanctioning bodies 2 to 3% to be undisputed anymore. You're fighting underneath this league. We're going to make sure that you get your money. As long as you fight the best, you'll be able to get your money. Like if they pull you up and they say, look, this is your mandatory, you have to fight him, and you're going to fight him. There's going to be a tournament for this one belt. Y'all have to fight each other because y'all are ranked 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, all in y'all respective sanctioning bodies. So at this weight class, so y'all all have to fight each other for this belt. I'm gonna make sure y'all all get paid, right? We're gonna have good cards. We're gonna have this. We're gonna have that, and y'all will get paid. But we're gonna do it underneath this umbrella, this league, this promotional company, right? If they do it like that, W. But if they start trying to do some UFC cheese, taking away people's ability to get sponsors and all that, you're gonna have a long day. I'm not gonna lie. So we'll see how it plays out. Leave your thoughts in the comment section about Dana White getting involved in the boxing game. You know what I mean? We'll see how it goes. But from what it looks like, or from what it sounds like, he's just trying to add some infrastructure and a sense of unity to the boxing game. You know what I mean? So I'm not mad at it. We'll see though. We'll see how it goes. I'm going.